this is an incredible get for us. On the eve of training camp, we got the handsomer McCourty twin, Devin, and his boy Chase in the background.
Love it. And I like how you said the better looking twin, like Wonder Twin powers activate, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I sorry, no, Dev, that's me and Glenn. I
It's just for us.
I mean, you guys are.
I thought it was a twin thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I meant me and Glenn, the twin thing. But yeah, no, you guys are good too. It's all good.
Well, listen, Devin, very well known. He's done some things on a football field. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he might be better known for T-shirts, right?
Yeah,
like get some good T-shirts.
Yep, and of course, his tireless work in social justice and advocacy.
Yes, community work. Yeah, he's also. I mean, he's got a couple of Super Bowls, but that's not really what he's best known for.
Yeah, no, I think really, Devin, the thing that we're gonna remember you the best for when you decide to hang it up, you are the biggest, prettiest leaf on the Tom Curran TV host tree.
The quick slants tree. Okay. We've been looking at this thing. All right.
Yeah. I mean, we got Mayo kicked it off. He's going to be a coach in the NFL someday.
Yeah. No doubt. Kay Adams, right? She blows up Good Morning Football.
Yep.
I mean, there's like a long line of people here. And I'm just curious, like, do you feel like you have to live up to the legacy of Tom Curran?
I mean, that's a pretty big legacy. I mean, who's his best friends? Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. I mean, always cites his sources. So I never thought about it. You know, I was the guy who came after Mayo, and then Kay Adams came, and that kind of stole everything. I remember I did my first show with Kay, and the first time I saw someone, it was like, "Hey, you're on that Quick Slant show, right? How hot is Kay Adams?" And I was like, yeah, Kay's real cool, man. Like, and I was like, dang, Kay's a real superstar. So, man, if I could just get mentioned in the top 3, like, I know my brother's in there, but he doesn't have enough time. I'm way better looking than Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah, well, that's a layup. That's an easy
So,
one.
you know, just being mentioned in there. Like D Wade said when they asked him about being the number 3 shooting guard, he said, if I'm mentioned with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, I'm happy. I feel the same way.
You know what's funny, Dev? We get the same thing all the time. Like, oh, you work with that hot guy, Tom Curran? We get that all the time. So I feel you. I feel
you try not to laugh. Yeah.
No. Right.
Hot-headed. Very totally. Hot-headed, we say.
By the way, another former teammate of yours, Tom Brady, right? So it's like every time you put on social media, he's got some kind of golf thing, or he's got his clothes, or he's in his underwear. Like, bro, what is up with this? Like the underwear now and the clothes. Like, what do we got going on here?
Might be the most versatile guy in all of America. I mean, 45 years old this year. Going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the game. Clothing line, modeling underwear with a supermodel wife. I mean, we should have probably seen this coming, being who his wife is.
Right.
That one of his next steps would be that. But I mean, come on, like the guy's versatility is through the roof.
Wait, I gotta ask you, did you guys like ever have like in the locker room like a Top Gun scene? You know, like was Tom ever waiting there in his underwear? Like, what's up, guys? One day we
never had that, underwear. But I do think it would be hilarious if he was doing that now back in New England with like Jules and all of these guys in the locker room. If he had to come back in after guys watch that, I think, like, I hope Tampa's rookie skits. Like, I don't know if they do rookie skits, but I hope any rookie show or anything they have to do rookie-wise, that has to be your number one go-to. Has to be.
Yeah, you got to oil it up, put on the jeans, and play beach volleyball. I mean, that's rule 1.
True.
So, hey, listen, we got another retired guy. We got to talk about your less handsome brother, which we actually say that he's the more handsome when we talk with Jason. But I mean, that's a hell of a run for him, you know, and he's done now. So what's next for him?
I think the coolest thing him being done, he was a 6th round pick, and in that long video he did with his his cute kids and trying to make people cry and all that nonsense, was he said he far exceeded all his expectations back in 2009. I think that's what we all want, but I would not be surprised if he was on a TV screen somewhere this season spewing a bunch of nonsense and he's probably right now trying to gather as many friends in the NFL that he still has just to make sure he has sources all around the league. That would be my guess.
So he's not going to become like your personal trainer or anything like that, because no one knows you better than him.
Right now he is, but I think he's going to look elsewhere because we really couldn't agree on salary. Like it is, he's coming off being paid pretty well. Like I just can't afford to pay him that much. Not a brother. Like, and I don't think he's that good. It's his first time ever doing this stuff.
Yeah. But you know what though? I heard some good things about you guys. I heard you guys went to do some media training over, I think when it was the NFL Network, and people were like raving about how well you guys did. Like, what was that like, and what did you do?
Man, it was cool. It was the NFL puts on a broadcast boot camp out in LA, right at the NFL. Why you keep asking to get down and get back up? And they do it right at the NFL Network studios. So you kind of go there and you don't know what to expect. But It was like live. Like we went through like a day of meetings, everyone pouring into us, giving us advice, Rich Eisen, so many different guys, Maurice Jones-Drew, and everyone's just pouring into you. And then the next day, it was go time. You did 10 minutes on a podcast. You did the color analyst on a game on TV, on radio. We did an interview. I got to interview Larry Fitzgerald, probably one of the top 5 coolest sports moments for me, just because, I mean, it's Fitz, and researching them and doing like a real interview. It was a lot of fun, man. And, I think we took a lot away from it. And a lot of people said we did a good job, but you also walked away. It was like, man, like I thought I was okay at this stuff. Like I thought it was good, but I got a lot of work to do. So it was fun to get that feedback from all the different people.
Well, when you get the call back, just come talk to us about the media buffet stuff. We're very good at that.
Yes.
They do a great job of feeding the media. So
that's your specialty.
That's us. But
we'll talk you through that part of it.
We'll take care of you. So when you were doing this, Dev, like, did you feel like, was there any one part of it you were like, man, I want to be in the booth. I want to, be doing, studio stuff. Like, was there one thing that hit home with you?
Yeah, I love the studio stuff. I mean, me and Jay was talking about it. He got excited to call games. I was nervous. I was like, damn, this is hard. But the games, it wasn't as bad as I thought. But just talking to Jay, like he really loved the game stuff. I love the studio stuff. So, but the interesting thing is like with all of that stuff is like, what jobs are available? Like where can you fit in once you're done and you retire? So it's kind of like striking while the iron's hot and taking advantage. So I'm looking forward to that sometime down the line. When I decide to.
Yeah, we're not pushing you out the door.
Yeah, no.
We love you. Right?
I know you guys are my guys. I know that.
Yeah, we need you.
Thank you.
We need you.
And that's your opportunity, right? You can get in the booth, get that Brady money, man. And you don't even have to hit anybody or sweat through these crazy training camp practices. Maybe cash in a little bit.
That Brady money might be a little bit of a stretch. No. Just give me any bit of that money and I'll be there.
Right? That's for real right there.
And we got to touch on another former teammate, Gronk. Do you think he's actually retired at this point?
I think so, but I will say this. It would be hard to resist if Tom calls him up at some point right before the playoffs or for the playoffs and says, hey, buddy, give me 4 games.
Yeah.
Give me 3 games. It would be hard to do. And I don't see Gronk not staying in shape. Like I don't see it, so it'll be interesting to see.
You gotta have one story that no one's ever heard. I mean, you went up against the guy in practice. He's probably the best to ever play the position. What's something that stuck out to you about him or like a funny story about that guy and what he did in his time here?
Man, I remember, I think it was 2015. We go to Greenbrier, West Virginia, to practice against the Saints, and we get off the bus, and Browner was with us in 14, and now he was in New Orleans. So we were all just talking over there, and Gronk gets off the bus, and we're just talking about football, training camp. And he goes, bro, since I kind of calmed down, like not partying as much, I'm not doing, he's like, yo, the game seems so much easier. I understand the play. And like his eyes and everything, like he was dead serious. And you were sitting there like, hold on. I'm like, yo, we got drafted in 2010. So you telling me these first 4 years of our career, about 4 or 5 years, like there's another level that you just haven't unlocked yet. You just been out here just kind of winging it to a kind of certain extent. But it was just like another one. Like Gronk was, I always tell people, he was like, he had the kind of joy and love of the game that we all had at 5 years old. And like it never left him through obviously Arizona injuries. And, you know, when you get in the NFL, the business side, like that side just never left him. So it was always so much fun to either practice against him, play with him. He just has so much energy and love for the game. He'll definitely be missed in the game of football.
You know, I got some of this kind of bugging me, right? Asante Samuel was on some show recently, and he was saying, you know, it always goes back to this, like, was it Brady or was it Belichick, right? And he's like, oh, it was Brady, is this and that. And like, to me, that's like disrespecting yourself. You were out there on the field too, right? And like, I don't understand how it's always like there's a lot of other guys on the field that are contributing to these wins, that success. But it always seems to come back to those two. And I don't get it. And it bugs me. Like, you know, you made some plays in those games. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the conversation that everyone wants, right? Like, no matter how great LeBron will ever be, we always want to say, is it LeBron or Kobe?
Yeah.
And you have two guys here who were at the top of their game and they did it together. And I think ultimately, once they split, now this conversation that everyone has wanted to have for so long, it's like we can finally have it. But I mean, I just think I think especially when you talk to people who were here, like Asante Samuel, and I think he's a little bit of an exception too, because he has success here and then he left and he still had great success, which, you know, you don't always see. And I always say, like, people are entitled to their own opinion. Like for me, my time here, I feel like was even a little different than the era those guys were in, where Tom was younger and, you know, everything shaped out. But I think you can't take away from all the decisions that have to be made for a team to go out and win a Super Bowl. And I think they even talked about it on the I Am Athlete podcast. Like, well, what about you guys sometimes play 4-3, then sometimes you play 3-4. Then you, like, to me, that was the thing. Like it's, you know, I think even with Bill, like a lot of people, like, he's a great coach. He put Troy Brown on defense. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that's what made him a great coach. Like, yeah, we do that. You do those things. It was once you're in the building of understanding. When we played the Rams in 2018 in the Super Bowl, we were like 98% man defense. That's all we played. You turn on the film. I mean, you turn on the Kansas City game, I think we played maybe 1 or 2 snaps of zone coverage. And to come out and really say, you know what, in the biggest game of the year, we're going to do something we haven't done all year. And then, like, we gave up 3 points to a team that was electric. And I think those are the things that, no matter how great Tom and the offense were on the other side of the ball, those things that you've seen all throughout Bill's coaching career and you know, date all the way back to when he was on the Giants. And, you know, you can talk to him about the different defenses and how they ran and what they did to stop certain players. Like, that's greatness. Like, you can't teach that. And I think ultimately putting those teams together, deciding what we were going to do, this guy was going to play here, like all of those things, like that was him. Now, don't get me wrong. You do get away. You do get to do some things when you got a guy like Tom leading. But we watched the game. Like, how great is Aaron Rodgers? Like, he's going to be a type of quarterback that we're not going to see guys and be like, yeah, he's just like Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're not going to see that. And he has won Super Bowl. And like, that's because it's so hard to win a Super Bowl. Not one great quarterback wins all of these Super Bowls. It's just impossible. So I won't take part in that. I'll tell you right away. Both those guys are great. And the greatest thing that happened in New England football, Patriot football, was those two guys got to be on the Patriots at the same time. It was the greatest thing that happened.
100%.
I was going to say that 2018, that Super Bowl, right? Everyone says probably the best play was your brother breaking it up and getting right in Brandon Cook's arm right at the end of the game. But I've heard you've given Jason a little bit of trouble about that.
Was there a breakdown there?
If you just watched I think it's called the turning point on like NFL films. Earlier in the game, we talked about him being there. So like the greatest, but I mean, honestly, he probably should have intercepted the ball if he didn't hesitate a few steps. Probably should have, you know what I mean? He would have intercepted the ball. Nonetheless, I mean, it looked great, made for great TV, you know, no doubt about it. Made for, you know, we could talk about this play for years. But I mean, maybe he wins Super Bowl MVP if he intercepts it and scores. I don't know.
Drives off in the car, goes to Disney.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been us instead of Jules. I don't know.
That's
By the way, back up for a second, because I heard Jason talking about this. When that play had happened earlier in the game, and you called the guys together and said, "Hey, you tell us what happened there."
So J Mac always gets mad because it's always shown as like I got everybody together, and Jay goes, I mean, we all knew it after the play. Like Dev gets credit for bringing us all together, but we had already. He said when he called me over there, we had already talked about the play. I already knew it. I saw the surface too. But no, it was. I think that was probably we had a stretch with a group of guys. Really starting at 17 when Steph first came, and that group of guys with Jonathan Jones, myself, Jay, JC, PC, Pat Chung, Deron Harmon. We just had a group that like we were so in sync. Like the coaches would put in a defense and a coverage, and we would literally talk it out. Like, I kind of see it this way. Like, we'll do it this way. We'll do that. We'll do this. And like we kind of just put it all together. And it was a lot of fun. And I remember talking to Bill. He was at 18 or 19 about him saying it was fun to coach players where you could install defenses and they could actually pick it up, because as a coach, it allowed him to see things that an offense did well and think of something. And he never had to worry about like, I'm not sure if these guys can get it. He said, that's a lot of fun as a coach when we can sit down in a staff room and we can just keep throwing stuff at the wall and be like, these guys will get it. Let's just give it to them. He was like, that's a lot of fun. And we had some special groups, and that was definitely one of them.
You know, it's funny because I remember talking to you about the Ty Law, Lori Malloy, those groups, right? And you said to me, you were like, but the key was how long were they together, right? And taking the time to gel and all that. So I look at this year's group, right? Safeties, you got some veteran guys, you guys have been together, some new faces in the secondary on the outside. What do you want to see? Like, what kind of secondary do you think this will be? Like athletic, growing, and we'll see it at the end. Like, how do you see this group come together? Like, what do you want to see out of it?
We'll definitely have to grow. And I think sometimes I hate when you say that, because I think when people hear that, they're like, dang, that means they're going to suck in the beginning. But I just think no matter how we play in the beginning, like that can't be the same way we play towards the end. Like we have to get better. And I think within the group, obviously with Malcolm coming back, that's a familiar face. Jay Mills now will be in his second year in the defense. And then, with new guys coming in, T. Mitch, my guy, Jack Jones, I should say the Jones brothers with Jack and Marcus. It's just, I think we have a lot of guys that are going to be fighting and clawing to prove what they can do. Like I love our safety room, being in there with AP, Doug, and now adding Jabril Peppers, who's a New Jersey legend. Like I played in the same conference as him, and I was hearing he was going to be playing in the NFL since he was like a junior in high school. Like
Freak,
that's
right?
what they raved about. Yeah. So I just think the group is obviously unproven, haven't had a lot of time together. But I also think like that's the National Football League. But I think sometimes we get so spoiled because we didn't have to go through that. Like we had a stretch where like we were replacing a guy or two, or we were actually adding a guy and bringing the same group back. And this kind of dates back all the way to like the 14th season when we had Revis, Browner, Logan Ryan, Alfonso Dinner, Kyle Arrington, myself, Chung, Durant. Like we had all those guys, and that room started to change, but like it changed from, all right, Stephon Gilmore came in a few years later. Malcolm Butler becomes a star. Then Jason McCourty comes in. We signed JC Jack. So like all of that stuff evolved, and then you would look up, you're like, damn, they still got the same safeties in there the whole time. So the communication never changed. And now I think what Doug and AP have come over the last 2 years and really showed what they can do. And I'm excited. You know, obviously AP is a veteran. I love that, you know, when veterans are undrafted, sometimes people don't understand their worth and their value and what they can do. And I love that AP's gotten to shine in our defense. And then Doug's a D2 guy that, you know, was similar to me, similar to how Cole Strange will be. Why did they draft him with their first pick? You know, that's all anybody said tonight. You know, all three of us are drafted. And I love that Doug's just been a freaking hammer when he has to be, killing somebody. He can be back deep, playing the ball. So that's why I'm still playing, man. I have a lot of fun being an old guy amongst young guys. But it's also because we have a group of guys who love to be like, hey, man, like, how'd y'all used to play this? Hey, tell me a story. Like, we have guys that want to learn. And I've enjoyed that a lot.
And then, excuse me, I'm getting all choked up hearing you talk like this. This is wonderful. Talk about, I mean, on the other side of the ball, right? I mean, you got Mac. He's entering into his second year now, and there's always this traditional, you know, the second year leap. And he's done an awesome job of, like, you know, the so-called Patriot way of just very like right down the middle when he's dealing with the media. But you get a sense that he's a pretty cocky guy. And like, have you seen that? And like, what have you seen from him in terms of development and preparation and stuff like that?
Not cocky, but I always tell people why guys are able to adjust in the NFL. Like, you pick up 1 week and you're in another team the next week. And like, it just, like when Aqib Talib came to our team and it was just, oh, you know, he was this way. We'll have to see how it works. Like, why stuff is competitive nature. So like, everyone sees Mac do interviews. Oh, you know, he's quiet. I don't know. Like, that dude's a competitor. He loves to compete. Like, you don't just go to Alabama, play for national championships, compete to be a starter on the team and not have something about you that you love to compete. So yeah, in practice, like, yeah, he was a rookie last year. Yeah, we were talking trash. We talked trash as much as we can.
Yeah.
And he would talk right back with us. And I think like you knew that. Like, we don't need to see a hoorah guy. And like, but I think every guy on that field would look and be like, oh yeah, this guy loves to compete. Like, he loves ball. Like, you could see it. And I'm excited for him. I think he does everything he can to be prepared. I think he takes that same burden that a lot of players take of just wanting to be accountable to your teammates. I think that's a side of football that people don't always talk about and understand. Of each time we take the field, it's not about, you know, letting fans down or our family down. Like, it's about like these guys that line up next to us. Like, we want to be prepared enough that when the play comes or this is supposed to happen, like, we want to make those plays. We want to make it happen. And Mac's no different, man. He's just like all the other guys in the locker room that's trying to do that. And, you know, I think the hard thing for him is he's in year 2. Like, I remember being in year 2. Like, it was a rough year 2 for me. Like, you're trying to figure out a lot of things. And he has a lot of pressure on him. A lot of people are going to watch every move he makes. We were talking about before we got on here how just everyone wants a piece of him now. But I think he's a guy that he's built for it, you know, obviously being at Bama and all the success that they've had. So I'm excited, you know, again, to be another older guy that when he wants to ask a question about something, I can answer it. I can give the guidance that I've learned from my experience and just pass that on to him.
What's that say to you? We've seen him in a bunch of spots, getting guys together all over the country, throwing with them. And then he's talked about it, his new like dedication to this diet and being in better shape. Like, what does that say to you as a veteran about your quarterback?
Yeah, you got to be different to play that position. You gotta be wired a little bit different. You got to want to outwork everybody. You can't kind of see it as like, man, I'm only going to do what those guys do because that's like, you got to set your own standard. And I think the best thing about him is we told him last year, like, bro, just be you. Like, whatever you would naturally do if you were still throwing to your guys down at Alabama, do that. You know, back when you were in high school in Jacksonville, however you organize things and how you felt like that's what you guys needed to get better, do it. I was just like, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Like, but if you're right, you're right. And honestly, and when you're the quarterback, when you're a leader of anything, people are gonna follow you. So like, even when you're wrong, Mayo used to say this all the time. It doesn't matter if we're wrong. If we all play the same thing, if we're wrong together, then we're right. And I used to sit there like, Mayo, that's the dumbest thing you could say. But it's true. If everybody's wrong on the same page, you have a chance on that play to be right. And I think that's why it's important that if you have leadership qualities about you, just go do it. Go be yourself, and it'll show and it'll shine through. And I think that's what he's doing. And listen, we're about to start training camp. It's exciting for all 32 teams right now because we all got a chance to win the Super Bowl. That's how, like, if you didn't think that, you wouldn't go to training camp. So like, I'm excited about everybody on the roster. Like that, we're going back and we're gonna have a chance to start 0-0 like everybody else. And that everyone's goal is gonna be the same at the end of the season.
I'm curious, right? So you talk about the side of the offense, right? There's some guy that you might know a little bit about from the defensive side. I think it's Matt Patricia is his name. Now he's over on the offense. And like, what's it like going against him in practice? You had a little taste in camp, mini camp, and like, what do you expect there? He's a smart dude. I'm sure he's going to figure it out, right?
Yeah, I mean, just talking trash. Like that's what I tell people all the time. Like, that's what training camp is. That's what practice is. Like when Josh McDaniels was here, he would always come up to me like, "We got something for you today," and he'd be smiling ear to ear, like talking trash. And it's going to be the same thing. I think competing is what has made New England teams good, but it also has made them better throughout a season, throughout years. It's just the opportunity to go out there every day and compete in every drill. And Matty P's no different. That's what he believes in. And now, I think he's been a guy that, no matter what the role is, whatever he's asked to do, he does it. And I think that is how the organization works. I know everybody thinks about the players, asked to play this position, do this. But I think overall, as an organization, like if you ever got to pull back the curtains, we have multiple people who do a ton of different things. Like if you get a chance to be around Richie or Chris Mattis or Bobby, like all these guys who are in operations, like they're in operations, but they're also in like the get it done job category. Daryl Nelson, like they're all doing so many different jobs to make sure the team runs and runs kind of smoothly. And like sometimes I don't even know what their title is. I'm like, you just do a lot. You got a lot going on right now. You're doing it. So I think that's what it's all about. And obviously, I think Matty P he is that example.
And I think we need to talk with you about just all the stuff you've done with social justice and all the initiatives and like the fundraiser, the casino night for sickle cell disease. I mean, we've seen you wearing, we were joking about the t-shirts earlier, but you were wearing t-shirts for bail reform, and you had helped a man secure an early release from prison. And is that one of those things where you look at it and you say, like, this stuff is actually bigger than football? Like, it's more important than football.
Yeah, man, I hate to get too deep, but I always laugh and joke, man. Me and Matt Slater talk about it all the time, man. I think my football career has been solid. Like, it's been good, but I think people right away, when they think of me, they will think about what you just talked about, Glenn. They'll think about what I've done off the field, the things that I've got to be a part of. And I love that because at the end of the day, my kids might have absolutely zero athletic ability to play any sport and do anything, and not do anything that I've done from an athletic standpoint. But touching people's lives, having impact in different places and different things that need it, like they'll get to see me do that, and they can aspire to be and do something like that someday. And that's why I do it, man. Like, to see Will Allen, have a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, and to go visit him in Brockton, to have him in the football facility, talking to the guys, being at practice. Like, I looked at that and I was just like, man, like when we step back and we look at the grand scheme of things, like this is a man's life that like once was already predetermined of what it was going to be, how it was going to go. And years later, he looks up and he's like, man, I didn't know. He said, I always thought of this day, but I didn't know when it was coming. I didn't know if it was going to come. And to be a part of that, to play whatever small role that I played, it makes my heart smile. I feel like that is, when I do stuff like that, I feel like, man, like this is purpose. Me and my wife got goosebumps when we were called and told that like he was going to be free. Like, got goosebumps because you set out to do something so much bigger than yourself, that you know that there's a higher power. You know God is helping you and directing your steps. So those things I got to be a part of is some of the best things that I think I'll ever do in my life. You too.
Teaching the little guy. Yeah, I mean,
was he going for the ice cream? I see the spoon. I'm thinking ice cream. Which
we had a little Italian ice. Yeah,
Ooh.
we gave up a little bit of ice cream. We're trying to go less calories.
Okay.
We don't worry about that, Moose and I.
No, not so much. We go the opposite way, more calories.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
That's what I'll do for my media life after football.
Yeah.
More calories.
Just to touch back for a second on that, and we're almost done here to wrap, but you, Slate, and a guy like, even like a James White, who's not the most talkative, you don't hear, but you guys have this, we've been around a lot of teams, all different sports. You guys have this amazing bond. Like, when you've gone through tough times, you call Slate, he comes, when James White was going through his touchdown, you pick off a pass in Seattle, run to the camera, and you give it 2-8. We're thinking of you. We love you, right? Like, there's something with that group, with you guys, that's more than just football, right?
Yeah, man. Slade always says it, man. To be a good team, to be a great team, just to operate at a certain level, you got to know the man next to you. You got to know his why. You got to get to know him. You got to talk to him. How's his family life? Is he married? Does he have kids? What gets him out of bed in the morning to wake up and do some of the stuff? Some of the stuff we do is not normal. Like, normal human beings shouldn't do some of the stuff we do. And I think it's so important to know like why some of these men in the locker room are doing those things. And I was listening to the Pivot podcast with Mike Tomlin, and he said, you can't lead men without knowing who they are. And I thought that was so true, because anybody can stand in front of a room and lead men when everything's going right. But when something's going wrong in a man's life or anybody's life, how can I reach to them? How can I get them to get going? How can I do anything to help them if I don't know them? And I think because of men like Matt Slater, and when I got there, the Gerard Mayos, the Vince Wilfords, the Tom Bradys, the Logan Mankins, I think I've learned the Patriot culture that way, of that locker room being strong knit, no matter what's said outside of the building, no matter what goes on. Like, those guys in the locker room have always been close. Man, I remember a quick story. My second year in the NFL, I'm struggling. I'm not playing well. And Kevin Falk's locker was right next to mine. And a reporter comes, and I don't even remember what he asked me. But I remember when he asked me the question, I kind of was like, damn, like, how do I answer that? It was kind of like one of those questions that was about my play, but it was like so negative that like I couldn't say anything positive. It was almost like I had to talk bad about myself. And Kevin Falk was sitting right there, and he was just like, man, what the hell wrong with you? You don't ask him no question like that. What you want him to say? You don't ask him nothing like that. And like, I was in my second year, so I was always like, man, like, you know what I mean? Let's not make it confrontational with me. And when Kev did that, I was just like, man, like, I needed that. In that moment, I needed that. And to me, for him to do that, it was obvious, like, he knows, like, all right, season's not going the way that this wants it to go. Like, he's answering these tough questions day after day, week after week. Like, I got his back. And like, for me, that meant everything. And obviously K Falk was huge for me, because with his locker being right by mine, I learned so many gems from him. But to me, that's what it was about. It's always about guys having each other's back. And that's not just in good times and winning or just on the football field. It goes throughout life. And like you said, I've experienced that for me with guys having my back, but also throughout any different time that guys could be going through something while you're playing there, after you leave, like anytime, just being there for guys.
Was it Curran that asked you that question? Was it Tom Curran?
It wasn't Curran. If it was Curran, I would have never done quick slants.
Let's wrap this up. It's going to be like sort of our version of like a 2-minute drill, end of the game. We're just going to hit you with some rapid fire stuff, and it's kind of easy here. So our first one is, right, who's the most likely to become a professional singer on the team?
The current team right now.
Mm-hmm.
Jawan Bentley.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Came up
He's
in
got
the church.
it, huh? He's got it. Okay.
He's the only one that can sing. We got a lot of rappers though. I
So
don't know if they're any good.
here's the one. We already knew the answer, so that's why we asked it. Who's the most likely to own a Waffle House?
Big.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with it.
We were thinking Dave Andrews might slide in there with a chain. All right, here's the next one. Here's the next one. Most likely to become a comedian, professional comedian.
Dang now. I will go with. I honestly, I go Jabril Peppers.
Oh, okay.
I go Pep.
You got to give us a little slice of that. What is it? Is he quick? Is he good jokes? What's his?
Just like Jabril Peppers growing up in the New York, New Jersey area, he reminds me of a straight Jersey dude. Like whatever comes to his mind, he is just going with it. So like I could see him going in and he has a set of jokes and he doesn't care how anyone is going to take them. It's almost like that Dave Chappelle. Like, you know the jokes that you're going to get from Dave Chappelle. You might not like them. It might offend you. But at the end of the day, you're going to be like, damn, Dave Chappelle killed that. Like, that was hilarious. Pep got a little bit of that in him.
Okay.
And then on the other side of that, who's the guy who is not funny but thinks that he really is?
I would say almost all the rookies. Almost all.
Okay.
Defensive rookies. I won't throw the offensive rookies under the bus. I haven't been around the offensive rookies that much, but our defensive rookies, yeah.
Okay. All right. Glenn, I'm going to steal one of yours. What about sneakiest tough guy on the team? Like, who's legit the toughest guy you don't want to tangle with?
Matt Slater.
Really?
Ooh.
You don't think Matt Slater when you think toughness because of how nice of a human being he is. Like, you don't, but like, I mean, tough guy.
Okay, that's awesome. And then this is one of my favorites. Is I mean, all we hear years and years of stories of guys just getting crushed by Belichick in a meeting, like getting called out, made to look bad. Like, what's the worst thing he ever said to you that almost like made you cry in a meeting?
Never made me cry, but this offseason, I did like a super routine thing that we always do. And we're in a meeting, and he goes, like Devin, when do we ever do this? Like, this is, and I was sitting there like, all the time. Just kept going. It was like one of those days where he was just rolling. And like, you just knew like there was nothing you could say, but everyone was going to get caught with a bullet. Like, if you were on the field at any point of that day, and that's how it was. And it was just a secondary that day. So like, you don't have that many players. So as the plays keep rolling, it would just continue shot after shot. But I'm old now. I'm in year 13. So like, it was like, we walked out of there. It was hilarious to me. Like, we were just laughing about it. A high five. Yeah.
Nice. All right, last one for you, Dev. This is our bonus. Tell me about what was it like practicing against Julian Edelman?
Hey, annoying. You wanted to fight Jules every time you got on the field. Depending on what kind of day he was having, like, is he going to run in there and try to really crack you, or are we going to be at practice tempo? Like, who knows? Like, if Tom just yelled at him, he's going to crack you. Like, Even though we don't block in practice, we're practice tempo, he's gonna come in there and try to take your head off. Is he gonna talk trash to you? Is he gonna be like, you just never knew. So you hated it, but like when you got out there on Sunday, you were like, I love this dude. I'm so happy he's on our team. But like hated practice again, but also made you better because like he was coming. Like you knew that. And it was fun for me because I was a rookie in 2010. He was a rookie in 2009. So when I got there, like nobody cared who Julian Edelman was. It was Wes Welker. You know, Wes was the guy in the slot. So like now imagine a guy like Jules where no one really cares who he is. Buddy was on fire all the time. So I still miss having him around. I was telling somebody before I was doing the interview, and I was like, he's one guy that doesn't get enough credit for his leadership. I think he brought a style of toughness and leadership to our team that's hard to replace. Like you don't always get that. And I think he brought that day in and day out. And I think the way he carried himself gave everybody around him more confidence. Like, I don't care if we were playing against the Jets and now the Jets were putting Revis on him. Like, he was still going to go out there and go and play his heart. And I think that, like, that effort, like when Jamal Adams was on the Jets, you got to go in there and crack. You got to go in there and crack Jamal Adams. We laughed about it in practice. Me, him, Josh Gordon, and a couple other DBs. And it was like, yo, that's not what we want anybody to do. And who's the guy on our team that's running in there doing it? It's Jules. Yeah. And like you could see, he knows after he hits this guy, it's going to be an instant headache. Like, and he still runs in there full speed and does it. And I think about like when you're on a team and you watch a guy do that, and you're just like, yo, for one, you're like, yo, he's nuts. Like, this dude's crazy. But it also makes you like, man, whatever I got to do that's hard, I got to do it. Like, if he's doing that, and as a safety, like, I watched this guy, like, I know what it means to run down there and try to crack Jamal Adams. So, like, I think the respect I have for him and how he played the game, you just miss seeing him and having it around. He was truly like one of a kind type of guy to be in the locker room with and compete against and compete with.
Dev, that's how we kind of talk about you. You are one of the guys we would always want on our team.
Yep.
You're the consummate pro and an even better dude off the field. And we really appreciate you joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. And we're really looking forward to the start of camp. And we're hoping that finally, because of your status, they're going to let you spray down the field when the rookies have to do the wet ball drills all practice. Did you pull any strings to make that happen?
Yo, the only problem is once you do that, you kind of put yourself as like the old guy on the team. So I've been running from that, man. Like, as long as Slate's here, like, he's got it. Like, yo, I want everybody to know he's older than me. He's 2 years older than me. He's old. I'm like, kind of.
Dev, we'll wish you nothing but success and health, man. We appreciate it. Thanks, bud.
And we'll see you out there.
Man. I love seeing where you guys have taken this, man. It's so cool. So shout out to camera guys, man.
Thanks, Dev.
Thanks, man.